Hi, I'm Frank Wigginton. Welcome to video 3 in the 3-part video series. If you haven't watched the first 2 videos, Retirement Lifestyle Planning Guide and the Taxes and Retirement Income Planning videos, pause this one and go back and watch them first. Without first watching those videos, you will get lost very quickly in this one. In this video, I'll explain the true purpose of an RRSP and the rules for contributing, investing, and withdrawing money. I'll show you the impact RRSPs have on your taxable income and explain why to use it and when not to use it. I'll enlighten you to the potential tax trap that arises many times with RRSPs that can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. I'll also share with you the secrets of the tax-free savings accounts. You'll learn that the majority of Canadians with tax-free savings accounts are using them incorrectly and why these accounts are the most powerful tax planning tools the government has ever given us. If you haven't already done so, click the link below to download the RRSP and TFSA worksheets and print them off to make your notes and fill in the blanks as you watch this video. Be sure to watch the entire video to learn how to use these tools to bring clarity to your retirement planning. At the end of the video, I will share with you how you can take your retirement planning to the next level by joining me at my Retirement Clarity Workshop. Let's start with a review of the last video on taxes. Do you remember what the fundamental rule of taxation is? The government always gets paid. Yeah, that's right. And do you remember the marginal versus average tax rate and the taxable income tube? You remember we used those to build a retirement income for Eileen and for Sheila and Carlos? Right. So we're going to use those tools again here to explain a few things. Let's dive right into our RRSPs. RRSPs, Registered Retirement Savings Plans. Did I ever tell you that the government is horrible at naming things? Yes, they're registered, but do you have to use them for retirement? No. Are they a savings plan? No. I really think that the government should have called these things registered tax deferral accounts, because that's really what they do. They help you to move money from a high income year and have it taxed in a low income year. I like to think of RRSPs as a box. Now there's rules for when you put money into the box, there's rules for when money is in the box, and then there's rules for when you take money out of the box. So let's take a look at those rules for a minute. First off, the government will allow you to put in up to 18% of your earned income into your RRSP box. Now, if you have a pension, that's going to reduce how much you can put in. But that's also capped at a limit of $26,000 a year in 2017. That limit increases with inflation every single year. So the government is going to allow you to put up to 18% of your earned income into this box. And when you do that, they're going to say, you don't have to pay tax on that income. So going back to the fundamental rule of taxation, if you haven't paid tax on something, when you go to take it out of that box, has the government been paid? No. So you're going to have to pay tax on it when it comes out. All right? Now, so you can put in up to 18%. So if you make $100,000, they'll let you put in $18,000 of your earned income into this box and not have to pay tax on it. So you put the money into the box. And when you put that money into the box, you can invest it in a whole bunch of different things. You can put it into GICs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate, or even a simple savings account. While the money is in that box, it's allowed to grow tax-free. So you can, so every single year that you earn money on those investments, you don't have to declare it or pay tax on it. When it comes time and you make the decision to take money out of that box, that money that you take out becomes part of your income, and you then have to pay the appropriate amount of tax on it. So let's take a look at the effects of making an RRSP contribution on your taxable income. So I've got a little example here. Let's say you make $100,000. I like to keep numbers nice and round. You remember our taxable income tube here? This is our marginal tax rate for Ontario as an example, and these are tax rates for 2017. So if you earn $100,000, you are now in the 43% marginal tax rate, or the 43% tax bracket. We talked about this in the previous video. Then what you do is you decide, okay, I'm going to put $10,000 into my RRSP. What that does is that brings your taxable income down to $90,000. So the resulting tax savings from doing that is $4,300. All that money that's taxed at 43% in that marginal tax rate now comes down, okay, and you save all the taxes you would have paid on that money. So now you've saved $4,300. So let's now move to when you take that same $10,000 out. So let's say that now you're in retirement and you need a little bit more income. Your current income from maybe you've got a pension, maybe it's from various sources, maybe Canada Pension Plan or Old Age Security or something like that, and your taxable income is $50,000. Then you decide, well, I need a little bit more money, so I take $10,000 out of my RRSP or RRIF, Registered Retirement Income Fund, has the same effect. Now, your income isn't $50,000 a year, it's $60,000 a year. Well, what that's going to do is that's going to increase how much taxes you have to pay because your income has gone up. Now, in this scenario, your income's gone from $50,000 to $60,000. That's all in that 31% tax bracket. So when you put the money into the RSP, it was done in the 43% tax bracket, or the marginal tax rate of 43%. Now when you're taking it out, it's all being taxed at the 31% marginal tax rate. So the resulting savings in taxes is $1,200. Take the $4,300 in tax savings that you had, subtract the $3,100 in taxes you have to pay on this money when it comes out, and your total tax savings is $1,200. So that's how an RRSP works when it comes to your taxes. Now, as I mentioned before, do you have to wait until you're retired to take money out of your RRSP? No. There are several times when you may decide to take money out of your RRSP before retiring. Maybe not for you, but maybe there's some younger people in your life or those types of people who are just going out and starting a family. A lot of times now people are focusing on their career first, they're developing good incomes, they're growing their incomes and before starting their family, and then when they decide to start their family, they take a year or 2 or 3 off to start raising that family. In those situations, people before they start having children and taking that time off, they can stuff a bunch of money into their RRSP, get a tax deduction, and then when they're off for a couple of years to start raising that family, they can start taking that money out of their RRSP when their income is very low or almost nothing. That can save them a huge amount of money in taxes and end up helping to support the lifestyle and the additional new costs of the new additions to the family. Other more prevalent times that may be more relevant to you may be if you have to take time off to take care of an aging parent or a sick friend or a sick relative or a sick partner. If you have to take time off work to take care of them, your income may decline. If your income has gone down, this is the time to start using the money within your RRSP rather than racking up a whole bunch of debt on credit cards and lines of credit. Another time may be if you lose your job. If for whatever reason you get laid off or you get fired or you lose your job and your income declines, rather than racking up debt on credit cards or lines of credit, consider if your income has gone down, taking money out of the RRSP and using that money. That's what it's for. It is a tax deferral program. And of course, many people who want to go out and start their own business, the first couple of years when you start a business tends to have a lot of money getting paid out with very little money coming in. During those first year or 2 lean years when you start a business can be another great time when your income has declined to suck money out of your RSP to help support and pay your bills rather than racking up debt. And of course, lastly, there's the time when you do retire. When you go from your working years to retirement years and your income declines significantly, that's when, of course, you can use your retirement savings. Okay? Registered retirement savings plans. Now let's take a look at how RRSPs can create a significant tax burden. It's what I call the RRSP tax trap. I've got a little story here of John and Mary. So John is 67 and Mary is 70 years old. And John dies at the age of 67 and his $380,000 RRSP transfers to Mary tax-free. Bye-bye, John. Mary's RRSP is now worth $695,000. 5 years later, Mary passes away, and her RRSPs are now worth $545,000. So she's spent about $150,000 over the last 5 years, or about $30,000 a year coming out of her RRSP. When Mary passes away, her RRSPs are fully taxed. So all of that money becomes income. And because of that, the government gets a check for $256,000, or an average tax rate of 47%. So this is an example of where an RRSP can create a huge tax liability for you, is typically upon death or second death if you have a partner. You end up with a large amount of money in your RRSPs that then becomes fully taxable in the year that you pass away. Now, do you think John or Mary were contributing that money into their RRSP and saving 47%? Probably not. They were more likely saving it at the 31% mark, marginal tax rate. But now it's being taxed at 47%. So this is the RRSP tax trap. There are many things that you can do to help avoid that, and I share all those tips and tricks on how to avoid that RRSP tax trap in my Retirement Clarity workshop. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. Now let's talk about the tax-free savings account, or TFSAs, as many people know them as. They're not TFSAs, they're TFSAs. You got that? Okay. Again, the government is horrible at naming things. Okay? Where do you think the majority of money is invested within a tax-free savings account? It's right there in the name. The majority of Canadians, and when I say majority, well over 80% of the money that's invested within tax-free savings accounts are invested in savings accounts. And they don't have to be. Let's take a look at tax-free savings accounts and how they work. First of all, again, I like to think of them as just a box. And again, there's rules for when money goes into the box, there's rules for when the money's in the box, and then there's rules for when money comes out of the box. Let's take a look at some of those rules. First off, when you go to put money into a tax-free savings account, you first have to pay your taxes on it. So you're using after-tax dollars to put in. You don't get a tax deduction, you don't get a rebate on your tax return or anything like that. You have to use after-tax money. But what's the fundamental rule of taxation again? The government always gets paid. Has the government been paid? Yes. So here's the thing. When the money comes out of the tax-free savings account, when you make the withdrawals, you don't have to pay tax on it. What happens in between is where the true power of a tax-free savings account comes from. So here's a few of the other rules. The government restricts how much money you can put into the tax-free savings account. So in 2017, the annual maximum amount was $5,500. Now, if you have not put any money into your tax-free savings account, and you were at least 18 years of age in 2009, you've accumulated $52,000 of TFSA contribution room. Okay, I'll explain how we come to that limit in a minute. So now you put the money into the box. What are those rules? Well, when you put the money into a tax-free savings account, you don't have to put the money into a savings account. You can invest it in all the same things that you invest in an RRSP. Things like GICs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. If you have to, leave it in a savings account, but they're not really paying that much interest. Now, here's where the true power of a tax-free savings account comes from. While the money is invested within that account, it's allowed to grow tax-free. So because we don't have to pay any taxes when we take the money out, all that growth is truly tax-free income. So what you want to do is you want to try and get that money to grow as much as possible. So for example, let's say you put $10,000 into your tax-free savings account and you buy the latest, greatest .com stock or something. And that stock goes through the roof. And you turn that $10,000 into $1 million. You can take that entire $1 million out of your tax-free savings account and pay no tax on it. Now, most of us, we probably aren't going to invest our money that way. We're probably not going to see that great big growth. But wow, what an opportunity to grow our investments and not have to pay tax on them. So then when you do have to take the money out, there's nothing to declare. You do not need to include it in your income. So it becomes a really powerful retirement income planning tool, as well as a really powerful estate planning tool. What an amazing way to transition assets from one generation to another. Start filling up those tax-free savings accounts and leaving the money there. Then name your child as a beneficiary or name your partner or spouse as a beneficiary, and that money will transfer to them tax-free, outside of your estate, not subject to probate or estate tax. Pretty impactful, isn't it? Right. So here's the other thing. You never lose your tax-free savings account contribution room. When you put the money into the box, as it grows, think of it like your box continues to grow to be able to hold more and more money. So if you grew that $10,000 up to $1 million, and then you took that $1 million out, that box is still big enough to hold $1 million. So if you decide, you know, I'm not going to buy that 65-foot yacht, and you decide, well, I'd love to put that money back into your tax-free savings account, by all means. They allow you to put the entire $1 million back into your tax-free savings account. Pretty powerful. Great opportunity. The one thing I caution is to avoid over-contributions. Many times, if you take money out of your tax-free savings account, I recommend that you wait until January to then put the money back in to help avoid over-contribution penalties and fees. We'll talk more about how to deal with that and do that in the Retirement Clarity Workshop. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the majority of Canadians are using their tax-free savings accounts incorrectly. The reason being is many people are putting in maybe a couple $100 or maybe $1,000 or $5,000 into their tax-free savings account to save for their next year's vacation. And although I'm pleased that they're saving for their vacation and not just putting it on a credit card, The problem is that they're not really using the tax-free savings account for what it's intended. The short-term savings really has very little impact. Let's take a look at this for a minute. Let's say you put $5,000 into your tax-free savings account, and then a year later you took it out to pay for your vacation. Where do most people put their money? They put it into a savings account. How much is a savings account paying in interest rate now? Maybe 0.5% if you're lucky, right? So that $5,000 is going to generate about $25 in interest throughout the year. So when they take that money out of their tax-free savings account, they don't have to pay tax on that $25. Is that really saving you a whole lot of money? If you are in a 41% tax bracket, how much money have you really saved in taxes right there on that $25? About $12? Is that life-changing? No, not really. The true power of a tax-free savings account comes from the growth within it. Now, for most of us, if we can get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9% on our returns, wow, we'd be really happy, right? Well, at 7%, it's going to take 10 years for your money to double. If you earned an average of 7%, some of you are thinking, wow, I'd love to earn 7%, right? Now, 10 years growth, that means tax-free savings accounts are long-term savings tools. This is a long-term investment account. That's what we should call it, the tax-free long-term investment account. We should start seeing if we can get that. I don't even know what that acronym would come up as. But that's the truth. These accounts are not short-term savings vehicles. These are long-term investment vehicles to be able to allow you to grow that money tax-free. So let's take a look at how we arrive at the $52,000 accumulated limit right now. Okay. In 2009, when these were created, provided you were 18 years of age or older in 2009, you started accumulating tax-free savings account contribution room. So the government gave us $5,000 in 2009, $5,000 in 2010, $5,000 in 2011. Do you see a pattern here? But in 2012, it was still $5,000. Oops. In 2013, they increased it to $5,500. That was the increase with inflation. So they increase it every time inflation increases the amount by $500. In 2013, we saw $5,500. In 2015, the conservative government increased the limit to $10,000. It was part of the election campaign, I imagine, but they increased it to $10,000 in 2015. And then the Liberal government got elected, and they brought the limit back down to $5,500. And in 2017, the limit stayed at $5,500 again. So that gives you a grand total of $52,000 of contribution room. Now, if you have a child, or if you were young, if you're younger, and let's say you turned 18 in 2015, you start accumulating from that point. So in 2015, it was $10,000. In 2016, $5,500. 2017 is another $5,500. That would give you $21,000 in contribution room. So I hope that explains how we get to the tax-free savings account contribution limit. So if you reflect back on the last 3 videos you've watched and the exercises you've done, you should have a good start on your retirement lifestyle planning, determining how much you'll be spending each year in retirement and how your various retirement income will be taxed. Now that you know more than most about RRSPs and tax-free savings accounts, you can make better decisions on how and when to use these accounts to help you save thousands of dollars in taxes. At my Retirement Clarity Workshop, I will take all you've learned to a whole other level. You'll learn if you have enough money to retire, which accounts to draw from, and when. How to avoid the RRSP tax trap that I just talked about, and how to optimize your Canada Pension Plan and old age security income. All the secrets to income splitting and much, much more. In small groups over 2 full days, we will work together to put your retirement action plan in place. I'll share with you our proven step-by-step process to take you from discovery to organization to planning and execution. By the end of the 2 days, you'll walk away empowered with a clear understanding of what will happen when you retire. Any stress and anxiety you were feeling will be dramatically reduced, and you'll feel confident and prepared to make decisions and move forward. As I do not manage money or sell financial products, you know you're getting frank, unbiased advice. As you have seen in these videos, I have a different way of teaching and communicating financial concepts. With 20 years in the financial industry, 4 designations and 2 fellowships in personal finance, and a background in adult education, you know that this won't be another one of those boring workshops where the person stands behind the lectern and reads 400 words off the slides. That's not me. But you will have to put up with my bad jokes. As I mentioned, the Retirement Clarity Workshop will be done in small groups to ensure that we have time to help everyone. So that means there will be very limited number of spots available. Be sure to click the button below to learn more about the Retirement Clarity Workshop and reserve your spot right now. Don't wait for this video to end. Click on it now before the spots are all gone. I do hope you found value from this video series and that you will share it with your friends, family, and coworkers. If you liked the video and found you learned something new, tell me about it in the Facebook message links below. If there is something you feel I missed or you would like to learn more about, let me know that as well. I hope this has helped bring greater clarity to your retirement, and I look forward to meeting you at an upcoming Retirement Clarity Workshop.